Hey guys, Carlo Filippo here, your muscle chef, ready to talk to you about this guy, the chicken pound. What do we do with the chicken pound? We prepare grilled chicken in different flavors, 6 to be exact. If you're serious about bodybuilding and you meal prep, don't go anywhere else. This is the company for you.
You want to safeguard your health, maximize your immune system, grow muscle, and lose fat faster? Prova Immune is not herbs and spices. It's not a proprietary blend. It's patented. It's a one-of-a-kind product. It's backed by science from the University of Wisconsin-Madison. Prova is a protein antibiotic. It's different. It's real science and gets real results. Check us out at prova.com.
RX Television on RxMuscle.com. This is Ask Dave, better known as hashtag Ask Dave. I'm your host, Sadiq Faruqi. This is your 30-minute question and answer show with Dave Palumbo. All your questions on diet, training, supplementation, IFBB pros, competitions. Of course, we are in week 6 of the quarantine lockdown, so everything, including all bodybuilding contests, have been put on hold until further notice. As we now bring in Dave Palumbo. Dave, some cool thing to offer for us. Usually we've done this under the guise of a quarantine sale. We've done it twice already, but now something even cooler. Amanda Palumbo, your wife, her 40th birthday yesterday, and to celebrate, we've offered to mark the entire website, the entirety of SpeecNutrition.com, 40% off between now and tomorrow at midnight.
And I got to tell you, she approved this because she processes all the orders. So she knows it's going to be a huge amount of work for her. So this is really her birthday gift to you guys during this quarantine. So 40% off, unreal. I'm against it, but you know what? We're doing it for you guys. It's a tough time. We know a lot of people are not making a lot of money now, so we're trying to really make this stuff affordable. Especially the products that are going to help your immune system and keep you guys healthy during this time, like Mineralize, Omega-Lize, the fiber. So here you go. Here's your chance. But you only have till Thursday at 11:59 p.m. So that's less than 2 days. So you guys don't cry to me on Friday. I'm telling you that there's nothing I can do about it. You have until Thursday at 11:59. 40% off. Birthday 40, I believe, is the code.
Yes.
On SpeecNutrition.com. Guys, don't wait. And it's only while supplies last.
So
free
again,
shipping over $100 too.
Yes, free shipping over $100. Birthday 40% off the entire website. Good through tomorrow, 11:59 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, just to avoid any confusion.
And the free shipping is only within the continental United States.
Yes, correct. Let's get to the questions again. The first 2 questions from the Dave Palumbo Experience app, and Dave, your producer, Mark Snyder, wanted me to extend the offer of the free trial. It's a 1-week free trial, and since I guess you've had so many signups, they've extended it to the end of the month. So right now it is April 22nd. So you have till the end of April, 1 week free for the Dave Palumbo Experience app.
We're just giving everything away here at Dave Palumbo Species Nutrition. I don't even know what's going on. They're giving away my whole everything. But behind my back, everything's just being given away. But you know what? I want you guys to have something to do. The Dave Palumbo Experience app is so good. It's such a great resource for questions that you might have because it's unlimited questions. We have workouts we put up there every single week. We have everything I've ever written, everything I've ever done video-wise up there. It's a great resource for learning, and that's what you should be doing during this downtime. Educating yourself so when we come out of this and we get back to our regular, realities, so to speak, you guys have enjoyed and have enhanced your mind. So I'm going to give you a free week. It's like the drug dealer that says first one's free. I know you guys are going to continue and want to sign up after that because it is an excellent resource. And a lot of you have asked me about how I can go about educating myself. Here you go, the Dave Palumbo Experience app.
So again, the first question from the Dave Palumbo Experience app. Dave, I've been doing home workouts throughout the quarantine. I cannot do heavier, lower reps because my dumbbells are not heavy enough. When I go back to the gym, should I just jump right back into the high-intensity, low repetitions? Any other suggestions for my transition back to the gym? It's a very good question.
Yeah, you obviously, if you're doing 120-pound dumbbell presses, before the gym's closed, and now you're doing, 40s or 50s at home, when you go back for your first workout, you're not going to go up to the 120s. You're going to hurt yourself. You got to build up to it again. Look, I got to tell you one great story. I completely blocked it out. When I was in my little camp-fed federal prison stint I did for 5 months, they had a weight pit outside. It had a big canopy over it so you can train even if it was snowing and raining. It didn't matter. It was freezing cold. It was blistering hot. Whatever the case may be. So we would be out there. And what these guys would do, they were so smart, okay, and dangerous at the same time. They didn't have heavy dumbbells. So what they would do is they would get the 40s or the 50s and they would put another 40 or 50 across it. So you'd basically have your hands like this and then you'd have someone else put another one, like almost like an X they would make. And so you'd actually be doing 90s, but if your balance was a little off and you couldn't control these things, you were going to completely flip over. And I saw guys flip over the bench all the time. So you guys can make, if you only have 40s, like I have a 40 in my house and a 35. But if I want to do 75, I can if I stack them on top of each other. You just have to be really careful, and you probably be better off doing it with someone else there, not yourself alone. This way, at least someone can spot you or catch you if you get a little off balance. But I'm telling you, innovation is the mother of invention. You can come up with ways to make these dumbbells heavier, to make the weights that you're doing more intense. I'm telling you, I've seen some real innovation. My 70-plus-year-old client, Frank Pinto, I know he watches everything we do. He sent me some great stuff that he was doing. I couldn't even believe he made his own pulleys and he was squatting with holding dumbbells. Great innovation I've seen. It touches my heart when I see the guys that really want to train so bad that they've been able to create their own workout environments that are enabling them to maintain their muscle during this quarantine period.
Second question again from the Dave Palumbo Experience app. Dave, I have a question earlier about what I should do with my training when I go back to the gym. A similar question, what should I do about my cycle? I dropped back to 250 mg while we've been quarantined. Should I gradually increase it back up, or should I jump right back into a full cycle?
Yeah, I would ramp it right back up again to what it was, because with steroids, it's not like, all right, you know what I'm going to take? I'm going to go from taking, a 1 shot of heroin a day to doing 25 shots, and you're going to die from it because you're going to overdose. Steroids take a long time to get in your system. So just like you normally would, just go back. If you're doing like testosterone every other day shots, and now you're only doing it once a week, go back to every other day. Ramp it right back up, and it's going to take probably 2 weeks to reaccumulate in your system, and then you're going to start, responding again at maximum levels.
Let's go to our Instagram question. Again, if you're not following us, our handle is official_RxMuscle. Good one here from Fallen Paco, I guess from one of the stories you should talk about in the 90s. Tell us about that 90s forgotten drug you guys used to use, the one made by a French chemist who died without giving a formula.
I don't know what was the question, Sid?
So I guess in one of your stories you talked about a drug that you guys used to use in the 90s, made by a French chemist who died without giving the formula.
I have no idea what this guy's talking about. The only French steroids that I know of that I used back in the day was Parabolin, which was trenbolone, a trenbolone metabolite. And then I used Permestrol, which is actually Masteron. It's dromastonolone. And there was another drug called Dynabolin, which was like a cross between like a Tren and a Deca. Maybe he's talking about Percutacrine. I don't know, which is...
I'm going to give... Dave, I'm just going to jump in real quick. So there were a couple of comments. One suggestion was Increlex.
No, Increlex is IGF-1. That's not it.
Right. I mean, the other one was, to your point, parabolin. They didn't give
Percutacrine was a rub-on, and it came in amps. You rubbed it on, or actually, yeah, I think it was a rub-on. And Esicline you injected. That was like a topical. It was like a site injection steroid that would make your arms or whatever muscles you shot into it swell. Those were all the French steroids that I know of. So I don't know what he's. I think he was talking about percutacrine, because I think we talked about, we used to rub it on and then you would get, like, or it could even be thiomucase or tricanacrine. There's a whole bunch of stuff that the French made that was really, really good. So I don't know.
Second question, Yari Latin Warrior, good friend of the show. Can females on cycle also get some benefits using TESTOLYZE?
Absolutely. A lot of what the females get from TESTOLYZE, excuse me, I'm going to cough for a second, is a reduction in side effects. So sometimes the anabolics they're taking convert to DHT and raise DHT levels a little bit. Even some women that are on, I don't know why they're doing it, but a lot of these HRT clinics are putting women on testosterone higher than I would imagine. And they're getting DHT side effects like some hair growth, hair loss in the head, or hair thinning, really acne. TESTOLYZE will blunt that DHT effect and will prevent the acne and hair loss. And women get really, really good response. Now, also women who are very estrogenic, what it does is it flushes the extra estrogen out of the body. It's not an aromatase inhibitor in TESTOLYZE, because that would be illegal. It's diindolylmethane, very refined forms of them, and indole-3-carbinol, which kind of bind up estrogen and just draw it out of the body. So women tend to get a little drier and harder on it. So yeah, they have a different effect. It's not really raising their testosterone, it's reducing the estrogen and DHT, which will harden them up, obviously, and reduce side effects. Same dosage, by the way, 3 pills twice a day.
Let's go to Philip Yanuzzi. Question about simple sugars after workouts. I'm not on a keto diet, but I try not to eat sugar outside of a little fruit normally. The exception is directly after workouts. I've always had my 45 grams of whey isolate and then a Pop Tart for about 70 grams of fast digesting simple carbs. I'm trying to go from 15% body fat down to 10 to 12% and preserve my muscle, of course. Do these post-workout simple carbs help or hurt me?
Any kind of simple crappy sugar like that is going to hurt you if you're trying to lose weight. The goal when you're trying to diet and lose maximum fat, okay, is different than the goal when you're trying to gain muscle, okay? We're not worried about reglycogenating the muscle, putting glycogen back into the muscle at a maximum rate, okay, like you would off season, which is when you would do the simple carbs or the high molecular weight carb, which is much better than a Pop Tart, by the way. When you're dieting, it doesn't matter. The most important thing is just eat your next meal. Make sure you're getting a nice high protein, moderate fat meal. If you are eating some carbs in your meals, at that point you haven't gone zero carb or ketogenic, then you can have your carbs, but they should be starchy carbs that are low glycemic index. Because it doesn't matter. You're not trying to grow while you're losing body fat. You're trying to maintain muscle while you're maximizing body fat. If you try to grow while you're losing body fat, you don't accomplish anything. It's like they offset each other. You don't really grow because you're not really eating enough, and then you don't really lose fat at maximum rate because you're trying to eat some carbs or eat some simple carbs. So my suggestion is nix the Pop Tarts.
Another good one here is only because it's been a discussion point. It's funny because the first few weeks of the quarantine, we used to get maybe 40% of questions related to the virus and everything around it. But obviously that's tapered off as people are now starting to look forward to return to the gym and their fitness routines. The natural guy, obesity plays a major role in the fight against the virus, especially belly fat seems to have an effect on how cells react to the virus and inflammations in the body. How come the fitness industry can't seem to benefit from this? Instead, people come up with stupid eating challenges, etc. Shouldn't we be all more knowledgeable now? I'm going to frame this in a different way, Dave. If you want to speak to, I guess, the role of obesity, fat cells, and I guess the way that the virus thrives on more obese characters.
Well, I think all viruses thrive on people who are unhealthy. That's really what it amounts to. If you're unhealthy and you don't take care of yourself, usually your immune system is not fortified well either. So you tend to get sick more often. I can't tell you how many overweight people I see. They're always sick. And it's just because, and it's not really the fact that they have more body fat, it's the fact that they just have poor habits in general. They just don't respect themselves a lot. And I get clients who come to me all the time, they're like, look, I can't believe how overweight I've gotten. I don't train, I'm not taking care of myself, I'm not eating right, I'm eating a lot of fast food, I just lost track of what I should be doing, and I get them back on track, and then we get them back in shape. So I don't think it's the fact that they're fat per se, it's their habits that go along with why they're overweight that is leading to poor immune system response. So you could take all the vitamins you want, but if you're not eating properly, it doesn't matter, and that's why exercise is important too. You want to keep yourself healthy. That's what it's all about, And this is a perfect time to rededicate yourself to good health, because a lot of you aren't even leaving the house. You don't know what to do with yourself. So get on a diet, clean up your act, start eating healthier, start exercising in your house, even if it's just push-ups and pull-ups and sit-ups and stuff like that, and dips. This is a good time to rededicate yourself because you have more time available to do the stuff that maybe you didn't have time before because you were out working and running around doing a million things. There's no running around doing a million things anymore, unless you're a healthcare worker. So take care of yourself during this downtime.
Let's go to Vigar S91. Would taking potassium with a post-workout meal be beneficial for absorption of nutrients?
Most people are not potassium deficient. Believe it or not, most people are sodium deficient, because most people are restrictors of sodium because they think for some reason they're going to lose weight faster if they don't eat salt, which is the biggest myth out there. Unless you're throwing up, okay, you're not going to be potassium depleted in your body, okay? That's the only time you really lose a lot of potassium. Most foods, potatoes, bananas, and a host of a million other foods have potassium in it. If you're taking a good quality multivitamin, like I know my V-Mineralize, we have some potassium in it. But like I said, most people we don't lose potassium. The kidneys just don't arbitrarily pump out potassium. Okay, the kidneys will control sodium balance via aldosterone, which is the hormone that's released from the adrenal glands. Okay, but potassium is pretty stable because it's found inside the muscle cell predominantly, inside all the cells, where sodium is found outside the cell, so it's easier to kind of have a flux of sodium. Once that potassium is inside the cell, it doesn't really leave, and that's what creates that membrane potential, we call it. The sodium outside the cell versus the potassium inside the cell, and there's something called the sodium-potassium pump, and that's what creates the membrane potential and enables the cell to do all the things it does. When potassium is out of balance, okay, and it's out of the cell, okay, for whatever reason, okay, that's when you get muscle cramps and you get all kinds of weirdness going on, because the cells are not able to contract, specifically the muscle cells in the heart. If they're not able to contract properly, you can go into cardiac arrest, et cetera, et cetera. So you don't really need to supplement with a lot of potassium. What's in the diet and maybe a good multivitamin is plenty.
Let's go to Marky Marks. From a fat-burning point of view, is there any point in taking T3 with HGH, since HGH increases the T4 to T3 conversion?
When you diet, okay, your T4 to T3 conversion slows down, especially if you're on a low-carb diet. That's why I put a cheat meal in once a week, because it spikes insulin, which helps T4 to T3 conversion. But the bottom line is that, you can lose weight without taking T3, but I like to use it as a tool in my tool chest. So if I'm thinking about the different variables of how I can get people to get them be the most shredded, if they're willing to take anabolics type stuff or just fat burning agents in general, clenbuterol and T3 is a nice combination, okay, to help burn fat. Does GH cause more T4 to T3 conversion? Yeah, a little bit more. But if you're supplementing with T3 in addition to clenbuterol, you tend to get a good synergism between those two, and you tend to, I see in my clients a much more accelerated fat loss. Once again, do you need to do it? No. I have people who don't want to take it, or they're on thyroid replacement already and they don't want to take it and screw up their levels, and so they don't take it and they get just as good a shape. You just got to work a little harder. So it's really a personal decision if you want to take it or not. It does definitely help amp up fat loss, though.
A bull duck, when coming into prep or leaning down, what was the area that held fat on the body the longest for you, i.e. stomach, lower back, etc.? And does it have any correlation to estrogen or any other deficiency, or is it just individual?
I think everyone's fat, where they hold fat is genetic. I never really held it in my lower body like some people do, which probably is a testament to the fact that my estrogen levels are never really super crazy high and I don't aromatize that much. But what I noticed was that the last thing to come in on my body was my middle back. So I would look at my glutes in the mirror and they'd be like crazy striated, even in the off season, but I wasn't in shape. For me to get that crisp contest look, I needed to make sure my middle back showed all the detail there. And that was the last to come in. I don't know why on my body that's the case. On other people's bodies, I see their back is shredded and then their glutes and hamstrings are soft. Everyone's different depending on how they process, different or metabolize different hormones in the body. Once again, some people tend to be more estrogenic and more sensitive to estrogen than other people. And with women, it's always their legs. I very rarely see a stomach problem with women. It's always the thighs and the hips and the glutes and the hamstring area because of estrogen, obviously. Some men are very estrogenic, though, and sensitive to that, and so that they have a similar women's fat pattern of distribution. Other guys, their legs come in pretty easily, but their back or lower back takes longer. You have to just identify what your trouble area is. Once you know that, that's the area you look for, because when you see that finally in shape, you know, okay, I'm ready to go.
Let's go to Juan SB. Good one here. How do you control, or how did you control your blood pressure while you were bulking up, specifically once you started getting really heavy into your 300-pound era?
I have to be honest with you, and I'm always honest with you guys. You know what? I didn't check my blood pressure a lot. However, when I would go to the doctor once a year, okay, I never had a very high blood pressure. It probably wasn't low. It probably wasn't as low as it should have been, but it wasn't like, oh my, the doctors weren't freaking out like you got high blood pressure. So no one ever told me, hey, you need to go on a blood pressure medication. Should I have? Could it have helped? Maybe. I probably should have been on an ACE inhibitor just as like a prophylactic because, 315 pounds is a lot of weight to hold on my frame. So in that respect, I was a little naive. And that's why I lecture to you guys so much right now, is to really keep an eye on your blood pressure. But I was young when I was that heavy. I didn't really, once I hit my 30s, I never went over 285, 290. And I stopped competing when I was in my, like maybe 34, 35. So I never really went into my later 30s. Now, my blood pressure genetically started going up on its own as I started losing weight and going off the anabolics. So that was a genetic time clock that went off. So when my blood pressure was really an issue, I was retired essentially. So then I started taking Ramipril and I started bringing my weight down, and that helped control my blood pressure a little better. But if you have blood pressure issues, especially when you're on a cycle or off season, then you should get on an ACE inhibitor like a Ramipril, Lisinopril. There's no side effects to it, okay? It's going to bring your pressure down. It's not going to inhibit your muscle gains at all. That's the way to go. And then when you go into contest prep, if you don't need it, you just stop taking it. That's all. It's one of those things you don't need to take it all year round. Just take it when you're experiencing high blood pressure.
Let's go to Matt Tracy. Do you expect to see the quality of the competition at shows decline with the long layoff, specifically with male athletes?
I think all athletes this year are going to have, the quality is going to be down, and I don't think the numbers will be as high as they were in the past, which is a huge advantage for people who have access to a gym now to train at and who have the food they need and the anabolics they need. So the people that have not let up off the gas, have not missed a workout, have not missed a meal, those people are going to be the huge advantage because they're going to be able to go into the show at their best. And they're going to beat people that are, who have been working at a disadvantage because they didn't have access to all these other things that they need, or there's going to be a lack of numbers of people, and they're going to just be able to win by sheer fact that, there's just not as much competition. So I think this year is going to be a very big advantage. And I'm telling all my clients, I'm like, do not let up off the gas, because a lot of my top clients have access to gyms and they have access to food. And their anabolics, they were smart to have bought them ahead of time. So I'm like, don't get this, because a lot of them are getting discouraged because, every time a new announcement is made, they just moved Masters Nationals, They just moved the Team Universe. I'm like, we'll do the North American, we'll do the USA until those are canceled, and then we'll go to the next one. So what I do is I've been de-peaking and peaking, de-peaking and peaking. So I keep, as a show gets canceled, I'll let them eat for, for 2 or 3, 4 weeks, and then I'll go back onto the diet with them. These people are going to have a big advantage. It's a very big mental challenge, because it's hard when you have in your mind a date set and then someone tells you, hey, by the way, you're going to have to wait an extra 8 weeks, an extra 10 weeks. That's mentally screws with your head. But if you can stay strong through this, I'm telling you, you're going to come out on top and have a distinct advantage over the rest of the people who are probably most people are waiting till probably 2021. So I say hang tough if you can do it.
Let's go to teams racing. Do you train any pro athletes that are subject to testing? If so, how does their regimen differ? But I guess you could also frame it in for your natural athletes as well.
Well, I mean, if someone's subject to a drug test and they're using drugs, I have to advise them what the window is of when they can start and stop certain compounds. Usually for bodybuilders, I try to discourage. If I know a person is on stuff and they're trying to do a tested show, I try to discourage them from doing it altogether, unless it's one of these shows like the World Amateur Championships. Notoriously, everyone used stuff. It was one of the best amateur shows in the world for a very long time, until the IFBB split with the IFBB Amateur League, and everyone took stuff there. But they tested every year, so you had to be able to beat the test. So that's one thing. But if I have a guy who's like trying to compete in a natural organization and they're not natural, I'm like, what are you wasting your time for, But there's rules. The good thing is that most of these organizations only test the day of the show. So it's not like they're coming to your house, a month or two before the show and testing you. So there's no strategy. You just need to follow a set of rules of when to start and stop things, and you'll pass the test. Once again, it's, as Victor Conte would say, it's an IQ test. It's not really a test. If you fail the test, you're just stupid, because if you play by the rules, and follow the specific guidelines of when to start and stop stuff, it should be a no-brainer.
Time for a couple of more questions. IFBB Tenacity, how often should one consume probiotics, digestive enzymes for gut health? Any recommendations for probiotic or digestive enzyme supplements?
I never found any benefit from digestive enzymes. Some people do. I don't know. I don't think that there's really a lack of a digestive enzyme production in the body. Although there's a very small percentage of people that might have that issue. Probiotics are great if you're having stomach problems like colitis, maybe your irritable bowel. It could mean that the inner coating of your small intestine and or colon has been compromised, and you have what's called leaky gut. Leaky gut means that there's the food and the particles that you're eating are getting into the blood circulation because there's not enough probiotic bacteria blocking or kind of acting as like a gatekeeper to the walls of the small and large intestine. In that case, you would want to fortify and take a probiotic supplement. Now, whether you do it by actual probiotics themselves, or you do it through the foods that are fermented, like Bubby sauerkraut is a favorite of mine, coconut kefir is another really big favorite of mine. You eat enough of that, you're going to get billions and billions of cultures of these probiotic organisms, and you can do that. There's also products like the Purova product that we advertise on RxMuscle that help with gut inflammation. So it's not a probiotic per se, but it actually reduces the inflammatory processes only in the gut. Good product. You can check it out at purova.com. But another thing that I like to take is, once again, if you take my FiberLyze supplement, the fiber is actually what we call prebiotic and probiotic. In the sense, it's considered a prebiotic, which means it feeds the soluble fiber feeds the gut bacteria, so it makes them healthier because they have something to eat. What they do is they ferment the soluble fiber, and that will fortify it and help them to grow better, in addition to all the benefits you get from fiber in general that I've talked about ad infinitum. So taking a fiber supplement in conjunction with probiotic, whether foods or probiotic, pills or probiotic powders, are going to be of benefit to anyone. Now, you don't need to take it all the time, but if you're feeling symptoms like that something is just not right with your gut, I would add in a probiotic for sure.
I want to throw this one in before we go to our last question. I'm sorry, I'm not going to butcher the name, but the question is, difference between citrulline and arginine in general, which one would you recommend?
Arginine was always the standard, the precursor to nitric oxide production. it seems like there's a limiting amount of the enzyme that converts arginine into nitric oxide. So if you take it every day, it seems to stop working after a while, whereas citrulline seems to have a much better conversion to nitric oxide and much more long-lasting. Usually most pre-workouts nowadays will use both citrulline and arginine. At least that's what I would use if I was going to make another pre-workout. Can't hurt. Agmatine is another good nitric oxide producer. So beetroot extract, another good nitric oxide producer. The key is if you hit a couple different substrates, you're less likely to acclimate to the stuff. Also, I tell people, don't use it every single day. There's no reason to use a pre-workout on your off days. If you need a pickup, drink a cup of coffee, because your body will get used to converting all that, that substrate, whether it be, like I said, citrulline or arginine, into nitric oxide. Eventually, your body's going to stop responding. So give yourself a couple days off if you're taking 2 days off from the gym. Even if you're doing cardio, you don't need to do pre-workout before cardio. Like I said, use some caffeine or an energy drink or something like that. So I find that if you don't take it every day, it works better.
Last question from Diogo Lopez. Which body part of any bodybuilder in history did you wish to have? Was it just one because it was so great, or one to cover one of your weak points?
It's a good question. I always wanted great legs. And I remember when I was first starting out, I was always like looking at, you look at Platz's legs and DeMayo's legs and stuff like that. But at some point I had really good legs. I got the legs that I wanted, and I was very happy. I was not how sometimes you're I had really good legs. And so I had very good separation and vascularity and crazy glutes. And so the legs really were something that I was happy with. If I had to look at a showy body part on someone where I said, man, that's something great. Ronnie Coleman's arms at his peak were unbelievable. I mean, you look at those arms. I was eating at the Outback once with him in North Dakota, and his arm was laying on the table. It looked like my leg on the table. Those are some impressive arms, and they had great definition. You could tell they weren't all shot up or anything like that. That I wouldn't mind having those arms. I also wouldn't mind having his back or Dorian's back. That probably would have been two body parts I would have paid good money for. I thought Dorian had the best back of all time, and then I saw, Ronnie's back in 03, and I was like, oh my God. So those were super impressive body parts. And I think that if I would have had either one of those, that would have certainly improved my physique quite a bit.
That's going to do for this episode of Ask Dave. Reminder right now at speciesnutrition.com, from now through tomorrow night, 11:59 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 40% off the entire website. That's right, 40% off speciesnutrition.com using the promo code BIRTHDAY40 in honor of Amanda Palumbo's 40th birthday. Once again, birthday 40 for 40% off at speciesnutrition.com. For Dave Palumbo and our producer Tyler Shore, I'm Sadiq Faruqi. We'll see you next time.